Take a seat either in a chair or cross-legged on a cushion, and gradually become aware of the sensations of sitting, feelings of pressure in your back or legs. Feel your arms at your sides, and perhaps take a few deep breaths. And allow gravity to settle you into your seat.
Okay, so welcome to the can opener.
Thank you.
Back again.
Back in.
I don't know how to do the intro. I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. You know, they're like boastful and they're like, "This is the greatest podcast," and it sounds good.
It does. Yeah.
It sounds good, but I don't know if I want to take that approach.
I think it gets your audience like hyped. You know, you're like.
But sometimes I don't want to be hyped. You know what I mean? Sometimes I want to.
I think there's a.
Give me some marketing tips.
Maybe even like hyping your guest is another thing.
Yeah.
But the same time, like then you're giving your guest like an ego boost, which I don't know, might be a little weird.
And I don't want to
make them uncomfortable.
I don't want anybody to misinterpret what we're trying to do here because no one's an expert in anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're just sitting and shooting the shit.
Yeah.
So that's. But you know, just going through, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting trying to think about creating a brand.
Right.
And what a brand means to you.
Yeah.
It means to other people.
Yeah.
And how much does the perception of your brand
influence how much they watch, or
influence the attention, and how similar is it to your goal
right
of being a brand? You know what I mean?
Right.
How much did Apple just stumble upon?
Right.
That created them brand, or how much did they was it 100% manufactured?
Like calculated, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's trippy to think about.
So like on a scale of 0 to calculated, like where are you sitting with the can opener? Like, do you know? But you have an idea of.
I have an idea, but I honestly don't have any goals with it. But I don't, and maybe I should, and I think even just having conversation with Jacob back in the day and these other people, and like I was very hesitant to even like throw my name and say, "Oh, this is a can opener hosted by Evan Stolpmann." Like, but that was just me kind of being scared and like not totally committing. And now I'm thinking like I just got to throw my name out there and like not give a fuck and create an identity. To the show instead of being ambiguous, because you can't attach yourself to ambiguous. Yeah,
that's this kind
unless it's the thing, and I'm not ambiguous. You know what I mean? That's not not the show's thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't try to put it in a box at all, though. Too right? You gotta be careful. But that kind of is a good segue to like one of the ththings I actually want to talk about here. Which was
sorry, I didn't even introduce you.
Sorry, yeah,
Chris Carnduff.
Let's go back.
Shout out, Chris Carnduff. I'm a Muskoka native. You've been on the podcast before.
Yeah, this is my third time on.
You're probably good with the water.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were you gonna say?
So like you were saying, like, you know, you didn't know what it was and like how you wanted to do this, and like in terms of like this podcast or whatever.
You gotta make sure you talk a
little closer.
Lift it up a little bit.
Perfect. All right, that's better.
Yeah.
And just talk. And I was watching this like Joe Rogan clip with Guy Ritchie, and Guy Ritchie is like talking about how like whatever you do, and like we should probably watch it. We should probably watch a little bit of it. But
what's it called?
Joe Rogan. Just Joe
Guy
Rogan.
Ritchie is the guy with the suits.
He's like a producer. Yeah. Master of your own kingdom, and that's what I was kind of getting at. Is like you have to own what you're doing, right? But he has this great philosophy on like life, which I kind of resonate with.
And what does he do?
He's like a huge movie producer.
He was married to Madonna.
Was he? Maybe.
Yeah, bro.
The guy's super famous.
Yo, I gotta Google him real quick. Guy Ritchie.
I just stumbled across this on YouTube. Like nothing. It was just like be a master of your own, like creator of your own kingdom, right? And
speaking of that, before you get into that, my mom's told me before. And we've had conversations about it. It's like you as a person, you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's that thing too. It's you can't let other people craft your.
That's exactly what he talks about in this clip.
Okay, we'll go to it. Okay, so sorry. So Guy Ritchie, filmmaker, businessman, personal life.
Yeah, Madonna. Look at that.
Then wife, Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just saw Joe Rogan do on 15th December, Madonna's spokeswoman announced that the singer had agreed to a divorce settlement with Richie in the terms of which it granted him between $50 to $60 million.
Wow, so he made the money.
Yeah, dude.
That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it's called a matriarchy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see this.
Fascinated by the way your brain works, because for you it's important that the person want to wear the suit, and I have a feeling that that's
wearing the suit,
that's symbolic of how you feel about life itself. Like, the person has to want to be doing what they're doing. They have to want to wear that suit. It has to be an authentic gesture.
It's true.
Did you ever read a book called Extreme Ownership, written by a couple of Navy SEAls?
That's Jocko Willink, right? No, that's...
I think it is.
Is it? Is it Jocko's book? Yeah.
Yeah, it
is.
I've
had Jocko on the show a bunch of times.
Important book.
Well, I've had him on once before.
You've heard of Jocko Willink?
No, I haven't. But of course, he's had him on the show. This guy's got like everyone.
I know, literally everyone.
Yeah.
Jocko Willink is super dope. You should go listen to him.
I want to read that book now that they said it.
He does a podcast too where he talks about like life lessons, but reflects them and translates them through old war scenarios.
Weird. So he's like a storyteller.
So he comes out with these like incredibly vivid, like he reads from books, like he references old wartime books,
right?
And then references the life lesson that goes along with that vivid piece of war history. It's super interesting.
Cool.
The guy's hardcore.
Yeah, he's hardcore.
Go look at his Instagram, and he's just. Every single picture, there's not one single picture that's not his wristwatch at 4 a.m. Every day,
what
takes a picture of his watch at 4 a.m. His key, his like quote is "discipline is freedom."
Yeah,
that's where he's coined
to live
his.
By.
And for real though, he's a really interesting guy. You should definitely go. He got me thinking. We live in a world of a lot of motivations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people are trying to be inspired. Yeah. People are trying to be motivated. And then Jocko Willink comes out and he's like, yo, fuck that shit. Like, that comes and goes. You can be inspired 1 minute and then be hungry the next.
Yeah.
Discipline, that's going to follow you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That goes beyond whatever your inspirational, motivational thing is.
Yeah. It's true.
And it's kind of contrarian to the world we live in right now of Gary V's and...
Yeah.
All that crazy shit.
But like, yeah, all those guys, whether they know it or not, are disciplined, right?
Exactly. But they don't preach it as much as he does. Joe Rogan preaches it a lot.
Yeah.
Being disciplined.
Yeah. And I think like discipline is something you have to work on, right? Because like, I think a lot of people, you get a lot of discipline from their parents, right? Like, a lot of people who do well is because their parents were so like on top of them all the time, you know?
You think so?
I think so. Like, if you look at like the Paul brothers, they both were like, their dad was like a nut job in terms of like disciplining them.
Yeah.
And anyone with like military, like father, mother, whatever, I don't know. I feel like that has an influence on it.
It definitely has an influence on it, but I don't know if you'll turn out that way just because of that. You know what I mean? I think about certain kids that we grew up with that had very privileged upbringings and they were disciplined because they were raised by hardworking families, but they went sideways.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there can be, I think there's a line.
Yeah. There's
a line between too much discipline, because if you have too much discipline and there's too much structure,
you resent the people who are enforcing it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't have the agility to be able to maneuver in all kind of situations. You have like this framework that's been built for you, and if it's not there, you have a tough time dealing with it. You know what I mean?
Wait, sorry, the framework you're saying
of what your parents,
right? Yeah,
of what your parents give you. That
framework, yeah,
exactly. And sometimes when you go out on your own and your parents aren't there to enforce that framework, shit changes.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's
not as black and white, right? Like, it depends how you install that framework.
Exactly, and that's why it's curious to think about, like, in the future of raising kids and being like, how do you make them manifest their discipline within themselves instead of being forced into discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a balance towards that. You know?
And it's like, who knows what that is?
Yeah.
I think about my life.
Yeah.
My dad was pretty disciplinary.
Yeah, I think my dad was too.
And he says that
more or less, not like I would never say he was like an asshole disciplined father that like, oh, do this, like make your bed, like that shit. No, fuck that.
Yeah, see, my dad was sort of like that, but he told me that he wants to give me and my brother as much discipline as possible because he was raised without any.
Right.
So, but he didn't turn out bad. All of a sudden, he has this discipline that's manifested inside himself.
Yeah.
That wasn't so you think about that, and the example you brought up with the fucking Paul brothers. They're sociopaths. They're like, can you see that Shane Dawson?
Yeah, I did.
It was really good.
It was really good. It was really
that
great.
was inspiring.
That was interesting. Yeah,
super interesting.
And that's kind of like that's what I was like referencing. It was that video, right? And like, yes, they're like they're sociopathic, right?
Yeah.
But I think like would they be who they are if they didn't have that discipline, that drive, that like like,
and most definitely not.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to ask and question, and where you live your life and where you want to stand on that. And it's like, do you want to sacrifice some human emotions for the gain of notoriety? You can do it, but you have to, right? You have to make sacrifices.
Yeah,
you're not going to get there without making those sacrifices of dedicating your entire being to this character.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's trippy.
It's true. Yeah, because that's what, it's hard to just look at it like a character and like say that like they're just a character, right? Like, yeah, surface level, you see these guys and they seem wild and they seem right, but like they know what they're doing. They're dedicated as fuck, and like they know where they want to be and they know where they want to see themselves, and they're like they have a path forward because of that discipline,
Yeah. Most
like
definitely.
if you think of like,
I think about like them. What do you think about them aggressively selling merch to children?
Oh yeah, I think that's fucked up, and they don't even see that that's like messed up.
Exactly, and that's where some of that drive might blind you from some of that, and that's dangerous in my mind.
Yeah,
it's like you got to keep in check. It's probably because of your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad should have installed discipline and drive into you and then be like, don't take it too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have morals.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what their dad wasn't. That Shane Dawson thing was so interesting, though. Never watched any of Shane Dawson's videos.
Never watched it either, except for that one, yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just shows you that YouTube, that it's the next platform.
It's been the platform, I think.
But, like, it has, but Netflix is still like there's more people using Netflix and TV than there is using YouTube.
I think it's like comparing Facebook and Twitter though, right? Like
why?
Twitter's
Twitter two separate things.
Yeah, I think like I don't know if you can like just because their video is video content means that you can categorize them in the same way. Like it's like on Facebook I can share and on Twitter I can share, but like Facebook is where it's like the central.
Maybe I'm thinking about occupation of time.
Like doing Netflix shows versus...
Netflix has more occupation of time than YouTube does, I think.
Oh, in terms of the business or company? Or
in terms of people watching content.
Sure, yeah.
And I think it's going to switch very soon with people like Shane Dawson creating this like documentary series that was super interesting and super popular off of like probably 2 cameras and like 2 guys editing it in their living room.
Yeah.
Like that's when shit's going to change.
Yeah.
I heard this... Anyways, I'll talk about it later, but let's go back to your...
Yeah, there's just like, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but there's a point where it's like wow, he makes sense.
Let's listen to it. I'll figure it out.
No, that's...
I think it is.
Is it? Is it Jocko's book? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I've had Jocko on the show a bunch of times.
Important book.
Well, I've had him on once before. What am I talking about? A bunch of times.
Right.
I've had him once, but
it's an important book.
Yes.
Right. Now, there's lots of books that have picked up on this theme, but they were very eloquent about it. If you don't own something, you're not the boss. You have to take full responsibility for everything that you do. Why be subservient? You must be the master of your own kingdom.
He was asking for a pause there with that dramatic pause.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you think you ever battled in your life of not owning something and like being afraid to own something?
Yeah. But I think I think that there's more to it in terms of just like. And
I'm not even meaning owning something materialistic, just like owning an idea
like or what you do or who you are.
Exactly. Just embracing it to the fullest.
Yeah. I definitely. I'm trying to think of like can't think of a scenario.
But I just think about like, you know, quotes like that, and they ring home because sometimes I feel, for whatever reason, I don't even know if I don't feel capable consciously. Yeah. But there's some sort of unconscious fear that goes along with saying, this is my idea. This is what's going to happen. This is my goal, because of the fear of failing in the future. Right. You know what I mean? And like, let's not carry all this baggage, because later down the line, we might drop it all and not be able to pick it back up. So I feel like that's what I did with the beginning of this podcast too. And I think you'll naturally do that. I think you'll naturally do that. And I think you'll have to fight it. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, it's just like discipline. You just said like discipline requires time to work on. Yeah. And I think something like this does too. You don't just think about it. It's like you practice yourself. You tell yourself, you're like, yo, I gotta own this because this is what I want to do. Yeah. You'll realize that if you don't own it, it's not going anywhere.
And I think like a good example I can think of is like, you know, like applying for all these jobs is like, so back in like when I first started applying for these like jobs and doing like development and
getting into your professional life,
getting in my professional life, you know, like step. I felt like it wasn't like I felt like I couldn't be me because what the world wanted was something different.
What you thought the perception
it's like you kind of like at the same time you still have to play the game of like, you know, being that ideal candidate because you're competing against everyone else who's doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, in reality, perception matters. Yeah, I'm sure we would all love it to not, but it does. And we need to understand the game we're playing.
Yeah, but realizing, I think for me, one of the big things that I realized was that like, if this person who's like hiring me and I'm gonna have to work with doesn't like me for who I am, even though like it's a short interview and you're not being yourself. One, they'll probably recognize that you're not being yourself, and two, like you don't want to work with somebody who just wants that ideal, like perfect, like, you know, the guy who's
you don't want
top of the list, you know.
But it even like think about times in your life where you've like, you know, you met someone and you're having a conversation with them and they're kind of cool and they're kind of chill, and then you realize that they're totally being fake. Yeah. And it's like if you're not confident in it enough in yourself that you have to be fake, then it makes me think that I shouldn't be confident in you either. Like, why am I going to be confident in you? And you're not going to be. No one can keep up an act forever.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, a lot like in this situation, it's like even like I was talking to my boss the other day, and I was like, he's like, you know that thing they tell you before you go into interviews, they're like. They know within 30 seconds whether you're the one they're going to hire. He's like, it's totally true.
It's like a chick. It's like give a chick 30 seconds to like listen to you, and then they'll know if they want to fuck you or not. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's when the decision is made. Yeah, that's just how it is.
So when I say like that's how you have to play the game, is like you have to be cognizant of that, but also be like owning your shit. Like you have to own who you are. You have to own everything that you're coming to the table with, and be like, this is it. And like, this is who I am. And if this isn't what you're looking for, then this is not going to be like a good fit, you know?
And if you approach stuff with that kind of foresight,
this is the first term where I've really like dedicated to that kind of mentality, being like, I have decent credentials. Like you know, all my stuff's here. Like
what made you like flip?
I worked at a startup.
Yeah.
And I found that like the work there, even though it didn't have like the title or like the notoriety of like being a big company, working there made me realize that like these are the people that like I love working for, and this is the kind of shit I like to do because it's like very like fast paced and then I realized like, you know what, like they chose me because they thought like I would be a good fit with them, you know? And it's like I have to think that it's a good fit for me as well, like, you know?
It's a relationship.
And I found like even in this term where I actually embraced that mentality is like I got the most job offers like of any term.
So you feel like you were more successful?
100%, yeah.
And I feel like
you go in confident, you're like, this is it, you know, I'll tell you what you want to hear, and like if you don't feel it, then like it's not gonna work, you know?
And it's crazy because that's the only way anything ever happens.
Which?
Being honest.
Yeah.
Like being honest about anything and actually representing something truthfully. Because if you make content or if you make movies or if you can, when you listen to some SoundCloud rapper and it's some bullshit and he's obviously not talking about the life he lives, you can tell. You can tell within the first 30 seconds that he's bullshitting.
It's funny, you can tell when a musician is, it's not even that, it can be bullshit. I don't care if it's bullshit. But if you're owning, like, yeah, don't talk, if you're like rich, don't talk about how you slung crack, like that's just stupid, right? But if you own what you're saying, you can hear it in people's voices. If you're trying to mimic what other people are doing and like mimic sounds that you've heard and like you're trying to like be that, it's like, it's not gonna
work unless you're like an incredible actor.
You can hear it.
You can hear it. And it even goes back to that conversation where you're just like hanging out with people. You can hang out with someone and be like, he's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because you can feel this like weird fake vibe. Like you're hiding something. Like, what are you hiding? Yeah. What is there that you're trying to pretend like you don't have to make you seem like you fit in better?
Yeah.
It gives people an off-putting feeling, especially when you're doing interviews. And these people are people who are interviewing you, especially in your field of these very lots of capital within. They're just like, I don't even know how to put it, highbrow.
Yeah,
it would be highbrow people, executives in certain companies that are interviewing you, and they have been successful in life, and they've probably been successful in life owning themselves, and they can smell some bullshit from miles away. They'd be like, bro, chill,
exactly, dude.
And it's cool. You listen on podcasts too and shit. You listen to some Joe Rogan's podcast and you just sniff the bullshit out because Joe is so honest. And then just on contrast, you can just tell the person is you're hiding something, and it's off-putting, bro.
It's very off-putting when you know someone's lying to you and you're like, you
don't want to have sex with someone who, you know what I mean, who doesn't have confidence in them real side. You'll get nothing.
Yeah, you know exactly.
You won't have friends. You won't have, and it's the
worst when you have when you know someone's like bullshitting you or like going too far over the line of like exaggeration or whatever. And you're like, man, like,
relax.
Yeah, but you're like, I don't want conflict. I don't want a confrontation. Like, that's not the time and place. But it's like, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to like? Everybody knows what you're saying right now has like very limited truth to it.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
When you see people like that, because like, holy fuck, man! Only if someone told you that you can like be yourself and it's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's.
And I know a number of people like that, and it's not that they're terrible people. Like. There's a lot of good people, but it's almost like an issue. It's almost like I
think it's probably the majority of the people in the Western Hemisphere. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say majority.
Maybe not majority.
Yeah. But you're right. There is a lot of people that just like it's because we've like grown up around this whole like facade of like creating like your own brand now that we have all this stuff, right? And it's like they just try to keep it going, and like,
but
they
even
don't realize.
Even our parents grew up in the facade of like, a white picket fence, a family of 2 children, and like this is the American dream, and then you retire, and like that's a facade too, right? And then that's all the facade. Now it's just a different.
I think a lot of it is now. So further in this, he talks about Yeah.
You want to play?
Yeah, watch another like 3 minutes, and there's one part that like makes a lot of sense and kind of like brings it all together, and I think like that'll add on to what you're asking. Yeah.
I feel you. Makes a lot of sense.
I feel you. It makes a lot of sense.
Just
it's
Joe
like
being
a
Joe.
Classic Joe Rogan response.
That you can't just walk into things with your eyes half open. You got to walk into things with your eyes fully open. You got to know what you're getting into. You have to take possession of your life.
Is this a thought process that you have to constantly reaffirm, or is this cemented in
it's
your
exactly
head?
that. It's exactly that.
It's what we just talked about.
Saying,
it's constantly reaffirming. We have to remind ourselves every day to work on these things in our lives.
Yeah.
You drift on this point.
Right.
And it is whatever form of meditation or mantra that you decide to espouse, there needs to be some period in your day where you remember that there's a world out there trying to tell you who you are, and there's a world in here that's trying to tell you who you are. Now, where do you want to put your eggs? Because the world outside is very noisy and very tempting, and it has all the razzmatazz, has all the tinsel and all the glitter. It's got all the toys. But that's because you don't think you're enough in the first place. If you don't think you're enough in the first place, the whole idea of the world to sell you stuff is, first of all, they have to make you feel bad about yourself, less than in some way. And I don't resent this system, by the way. It is the system. But what's the expression about don't hate the player, hate the game?
Yeah, so he went off a little bit.
Yeah.
But what he said a second before that was exactly what we were talking about.
There's a world outside that's trying to tell you who you are, and then there's a world inside that is also trying to tell you who you are, right?
And the world outside is very noisy, it's very shiny, it's very attractive. But you are only attracted to that outside world when you have fear that you aren't enough.
It's because it's when you're letting the outside world tell you who you are, right?
Exactly. And that comes... We were just talking about like off the air. We were just talking about like addiction, like thinking about the concept of addiction, and it's like addiction is not just about the booze or about the drugs. It's about whatever hole you're trying to fill.
Yeah, and you can apply that to that exactly, right? Like,
it's
the world out there is trying to like tell you who you are, right? And being like, oh, you're sad. Oh, get some booze, or like
exactly,
you know?
And you not having enough on the inside to battle the outside world.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just get filled with this because you have a void inside that gets filled by this outside world shit, by the facade, by the materialism. It's trippy, bro.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to think about.
It is. It's great because like, you know, there's you don't think about the inside very much. You think too much about the outside and like how
because it is
you.
Exactly what he just said. It's so fast. Think about it. Every day we wake up, what do I think about? I wake up, I think about my stocks. I'm going to be straight up with you, bro. I'm trying to be as close and as centered and grounded as a person I can be for the future me. To not be attached, to meditate, to do these things, to make sure I stay centered. Race, But, bro, it's the game. I wake up and I think about my stocks.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. It's shiny, it's fast, and it's attractive.
Yeah.
But I should wake up and think about how grateful I am for everything and then look at my stocks.
No, I don't think it's not necessarily like, I think you're putting a little too much emphasis on like the materialistic side of it. Like, yeah, I think you should be waking up and thinking like, you know, how am I going to turn this day into something like, how am I going to make the best day possible, right? Like out in the world, because you're inside you have to be this person out in the world, right? But I think like what is more is like when you go and you interact with people and like everyone is trying to like put you down, or like not everyone's trying to put you down, but you get all these like insecurities and these things.
That's the thing.
Like,
I don't think people are trying to put you down. I think you put yourself down.
Right.
Purely in contrast from everyone else's life.
But because of the world outside, though, I think. Anyway.
Exactly. And maybe we just different opinion here, because I think when you wake up, no one is going to want to change and love the world if you don't love yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And that needs to be done. And maybe you're blessed. There are people blessed in this world, like Joe Rogan and you, and I would say myself, who love ourselves. You know what I mean? There's some real confidence in ourselves. Yeah. If there was, I wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Exactly.
If you weren't, you wouldn't be doing the podcast. You wouldn't be applying for these jobs. Mm-hmm. But then there's some people where it's dark, and it's like you can't do any of that shit without reminding yourself that inside is full. Like, you don't have to fill it with outside things. Like the stocks. If you were just like, wow, I have like a mother who's alive, and I have children, I have brothers who are still alive, and they're and that's, I think that, and we're saying the same thing. I just personally think that's the first step.
Yeah. But I think to tie it back to like ownership, right? Yeah. Like he was saying, like you have to own everything you do, right? Yeah. And it's like that's the inside. That's the inside saying, like, you know, if you trade stocks, like, see, right now what you're thinking is I'm such a dirtbag, like not super literally, but like you're just thinking I'm such a dirtbag because I wake up and think about stocks.
No, I don't think so.
No, but you're saying that's not what you should be thinking about, right?
I think it's just less important than being grateful. I don't think I'm a dirtbag. I just think that.
Right, but like you just said that's what you wake up and you think about, but like, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about that, right? But you're not owning it, right? That's the problem.
What do you mean?
You're not saying like I woke up in the morning, I check my stocks because like I want that shit to fucking fly high.
Yeah, bro.
You know, like that's you got to own it.
I do. But that's why I did say I did own because I came out and I said that's what I do. Mm-hmm. But I doesn't mean
it's
that
the outside world that's telling you that you shouldn't own that. You know what I mean?
One sec. Let me. So I kind
of flipped that around, but
no, I don't think that it's a bad thing. Yeah. But I own it, and the only way I would ever think that I would want to change it is if I owned it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think I would want to change that eventually in my life, where maybe the first thing in my life, if I trained myself, was to wake up and think about my mother before I think about my stocks.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in a weird way.
It's a bad example. Like, I don't think that...
It's a strange example.
That to that, right?
And it makes sense, and it is the outside world. And we need to be cognizant of how much that affects our lives, because a lot of people aren't. Do you feel like the older you get, the more aware you are of your body? Like
in what sense?
Like, I think about being 16 and like eating like 2 bags of Doritos and a pack of like sour Patch Kids, and then I think about doing it right now, and it's like I can feel how much that affects my body compared 100%. To what it was back then. Yeah. And I think that's trained. I think a lot of people don't have that. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand how their body reacts to certain things. Yeah. Because we don't feel shit.
No.
We don't feel
easy
shit.
Going in, and then when you're young, you don't really feel anything. Yeah.
And we're numb because of the outside world. We have nothing in us. Yeah. How do we feel stuff? Yeah. We're fueled, and I just think about my mindset back in the day. And just being motivated by the outside world. Yeah. Motivated to change my perception and not myself. Right. And that's a weird place to be in. Yeah. And it was hard to own that. Yeah. It was hard to own that.
Like own yourself?
Own it myself. To be like, look in the mirror and be like, because I'm aware of that. You know what I mean? I think that's a negative, but you get lost in the haze, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, you're doing this exactly for what you constantly say you shouldn't do, and you tell yourself you shouldn't do, and you weren't even aware that you were doing that. Yeah. And that's why it's crazy. Yeah. Just like the alcohol thing. It's like you're not even aware. Yeah. You're not even aware. You're to a certain point of numbness where you don't even know that you're drinking because your brother committed suicide or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's trippy. You got thoughts on that? Or you want to go back to this?
No, I don't think there's much left. Like, that was kind of like the main point.
It's trippy, bro.
But I'm trying to think where you left off, where I picked that up, but
we can just dive back into this.
Yeah, play a little bit of this, and then
don't hate the game. Love the game because you're in it, mate.
Love the game, and that.
See, I completely agree with that.
There you
and
go. Go on this.
So, and that's the problem. I think a lot of people now is like they don't understand that like it's a game, you know, and. Just like video games, like if you fucking love playing video games, then you love being good. You love like
you can shoot someone and they'll respond.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll just respond next round, bro.
Yeah, but I think like you know, if you're the guy getting like the most kills on the leaderboard, then like that feels great, right? Mm-hmm. And just like that, like life is a game, right? And like you can't hide from it. There's no alternative. So you know, play it. Right? Like, yeah, everything's trying to make you feel like shit and sell you all the things that you probably shouldn't be buying. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, that's part of the game, you know? That's like, I don't know, like a good game example of that would be, but like, you know.
Society.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, just like.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's, you have to own it. You have to own it and you have to understand that the game you're in, right? Yeah.
You know what's a good point you're making me think about? It's like extreme ownership. Mm-hmm. Not only about the inside, but extreme ownership of reality.
Yeah, and I think I have that more than ever. Like
in your life.
Yeah, I think
so too, and I think it's being involved with so many different mindsets.
Yeah,
and detaching from what you wished.
Yeah.
The outside world was, and now it's more reality, and you're taking ownership of understanding that this is the current situation.
Yeah,
like that is what it is. It's not like it could be it's like this is what it is, and it has to happen externally and internally.
Yeah, and I think the one of the big things one of the things I live by is like adapt and overcome. Right, like you know, something shitty happens, like it could be the smallest thing, but like you adapt to it and then you overcome it because. What else do you do, right? If you can't do that, then like you're just gonna sit and mope. Like no, don't do that.
What else can you do? And it's just like talking about like suffering and talking about embracing suffering. Mm-hmm. Suffering is fantastic.
Yeah.
Suffering, exactly. Yeah. But that's what you need to say. In all reality, suffering is not fantastic, but you need it to be. Because that's the only way you get anything out of anything is by embracing and owning what it is.
Yeah.
And embracing suffering and owning for what it is will help you learn from it.
Yeah.
It's not no one wants to suffer, but to live is to suffer. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So the only way to learn from that is by taking ownership.
Yeah.
And like what he said, don't walk into the room with your eyes half closed. They got to be fully open.
Yeah.
To recognize what it is in order to, like you said, to live the life you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do the things
and what
you want.
I like, the biggest thing I got out of this is like just take ownership of everything, right? And like, you know, even if that means even if you're, how do you put this?
Pretty
like,
awkward. Eh?
Even if you do something that's questionable, like
what do you
own
mean?
it. I don't know, like. Say
dressing up as blackface.
Say you like cheated on your girlfriend or something, right?
Yeah.
Own it and fix the problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't just try to like hide from it or don't like you know what I mean? I don't know if that was a good example, but
it is a good example. It's
like take ownership in the shit that you fuck up to. Don't just take ownership in like, oh, I did great today and like, you know, that was all me. It's like, no, like if you screw up, like, oh, if I showed up late to work or like, you know, you have to be like, oh, that's what I did. That's who I am. Like if I don't want to be like that, then take ownership in that too.
And even extreme ownership, pushing it a step further is like when someone does something in your life, even react to that as, oh, what should I do in that situation? Like maybe I could have acted better, even if it wasn't in your control. It's a healthy mindset to have, to be like, okay, Chris totally flaked on me for doing my podcast for 3 times in a row. This didn't actually happen, but this is an example.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, then what are my... It's not like, oh, Chris is a shitty dude.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe I should hang out with better people, or I should do something else in order to change that situation, and that's when life changes.
Yeah.
That's when you fully take control.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control everything in life, but you can control how you react to it.
Yeah.
And we're not aware.
Yeah.
We're not aware. We're simply not aware.
Yeah. Yeah, and like back to you said, like you can't control everything in life, and like that's true, and it's like not true, you know. I think that's also like a mindset, you know. Tori's stepdad always like preached that, like, you know, your reality is like infinite and you can shape it like however you want. Mm-hmm. How much of that I believe, like I don't really know, but I like the premise of it, you know. Like if that's the way you think, then like nothing can really stop you from doing whatever you want to do, you know.
Yeah. And then that's getting into a deep philosophical debate of dualism, or like, do we live in two realities, in two dimensions, one in our head and then one is this actual physical realm, or are we totally in our head and there's this physical realm does not actually exist, or is it totally this physical realm and nothing else up in our head? It's like it goes to this, and I think there's certain ways to think in life that will make you better. Yeah. That will give you more tactics in this game we're playing. Yeah. And some people shouldn't think, you know what I mean? I'm sure Hitler thought that his reality was totally mendable and he had control of everything. Right. And didn't turn out so well.
Right. But I'll give Hitler credit where credit's due. Not that he like deserves not that he deserves a lot of credit, but you know, he
changed Germany.
He changed the world, you know? And because he believed he could, and because, you know, and don't take words out of my mouth. Like Hitler's an awful guy.
I'm just trying to think about it. But I don't think something like he changed the world.
Is it not in a good way?
Well, that's the thing, and I think the nuance is very important within that circumstance.
In his way, and that's important. That's important because that means that you can change the world in your way, right? Like he proved that he had this fucked up thought, and he got a bunch of people on the bandwagon, right? And that's not to say that you can't do that either, right?
Yeah,
that's a terrible example, and I don't even. I feel dirty talking about it.
No, it's when he goes, but I respect the ballsiness of. It's a hard example, but the hardest examples are the best ones to talk about because they kind of make you second guess your own algorithms. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. I think the action is very important. The intention. Mm-hmm. Of changing the world, I guess, is important, but at what action? We can't forget about we have to hold people's actions accountable. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I would rather Hitler not change the world.
Yeah, so would I.
Than through his actions.
Right, but here's the contrary, which is something that a guy named Chamath, who's like super famous guy, he owns like the Golden State Warriors.
True.
But he's saying like there are people in the world who like have the opposite, and I think I've told you this before, but like there are people in the world who have the opposite view of you. Yeah. Right? And they're trying to change the world to fit their view. Mm-hmm. Right? So by you doing whatever in your power is to change the world to fit your view will counteract the people that you disagree with, right? And I think that's important in itself because, like, you know, even though Hitler wanted to change the world in his way, which was awful, there wasn't somebody there to change it in the positive way, or like there wasn't that counter force, right?
Well, there was because he was defeated.
Eventually, yeah, for sure, right? But I mean, like I guess like a smaller scale, like in your everyday life, you know, you can influence people like. In a good way that would counteract the people that you disagree with and like that have awful views that you think that they shouldn't be a thing, right? Yeah. And having the power to understand that like you can shape the world even in your own microcosm is super important too.
Yeah, and I've And I agree, and that's part of the thing we were talking about earlier is having a sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
You have to be able to think like you changed the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have to, but you also have to be cognizant of the human experience.
Yeah.
And understand that like emotions and love and like these things that we feel are like very integral parts of that experience, I feel. And like these people like Hitler, they used like fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's I like Bible references.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to paint the picture for, and that's evil, right? That's demonic.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about Elon Musk. And what he's doing is sort of angelic in a sort of way, trying to lift everybody up.
Yeah.
And Hitler used fear not only to manipulate, but to like kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We need examples of that for it not to happen again.
Yeah, and you need people there to counteract, right? You need people like Elon Musk, and you need people like the Koch brothers to keep things in check. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, you know.
That's another.
But that's
Bible
my
reference.
opinion.
But you need hell with heaven.
You need hell with heaven, right? Yeah.
You can't have a hero without the anti-hero.
Yeah. Yeah, or the anti-hero.
Yeah, you can't have even in our universe, even when it comes to physicality, you can't have matter without dark matter or antimatter or whatever they're finding out now.
Yeah. There's something you said earlier that it was a point I wanted to bring up, but it is kind of unrelated, but it's interesting. It's like
what?
I feel like people are very hesitant to talk about like the reality we live in at like a higher kind of view, like perspective, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying like the human experience and one thing that was interesting is a couple weeks ago I was at my like family dinner and we were talking about so I don't know how it came up, but I was talking about like the simulation theory, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but
oh yeah.
I'll briefly explain it. Basically, it's if at some point we're gonna have computers that are strong enough to simulate, we're gonna have video games soon that look indistinguishable from real life.
Yeah, we
right?
hypothesize.
Yeah.
Yo, did you see Red Dead Redemption 2?
No, but
that shit broke records, bro.
It's really good.
Yo, apparently the graphics are insane, dude.
Yeah, and the problem with that's the thing about that though is that the graphics are limited by the consoles.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go on with the simulation theory.
Yeah, sorry. So it's basically like if we have the capability to simulate the universe we live in, it makes a lot of sense. And the reason it makes a lot of sense is because we only know so much of our history, right? We don't know why we're here. We don't know how we got here, right? And we can only look at like historical facts and historical things we dig up from the ground, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing really explaining it, right? But if we could simulate it,
God, bro.
If we can simulate it, we can figure out how this all came to be, right?
That's true.
And right, because like what are humans doing? We're trying to figure out everything, right? In our reality, we're
trying to figure out God.
Are we though?
That's kind of what that is. That's kind of what that is. You want to that's kind of what
true.
that is you're looking back and you're seeing what created us. What is God? We're finding it. We're simulating
I don't like the term
God.
God because that's assuming that there's one entity that like, right?
It could be whatever.
But what if that entity was another universe trying to figure out what they're doing?
Then I would say that's God. From our perspective, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. And I think people should look at God that way. We're not stuck on this fucking Jesus guy anymore. You know what I mean? It's God. It's whatever that higher thing is.
Yeah.
But I heard it explain that the likeliness, like what you put, simply put, that if we are able to totally simulate our own reality, the likeliness that we live in base reality is basically like zero. Because
what do you mean live in base reality?
Because if we create a simulation of our own, then we could only think. It's just like the universe. It's infinite. right?
Yeah.
We can only think that if there's multiple galaxies, that it just goes on forever. There's not just one galaxy. We are not in the one galaxy. When we figure out that we are not in the one simulation and we can create multiple, it's very, very slim to none that we are living in the first reality that created the simulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they're that, and
it kind of proves not like proves
we
by
could
induction, right?
no, we could be in base reality. Who knows? We could.
Yeah.
But it's very slim, according to Elon Musk and other people I've talked to. But everybody has to be the first. You know what I mean? Why not? Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing is like nothing's ever interacted with us, right? Which is interesting. But maybe it's until we get to that point where we can create our own reality that like we get interacted. You know, who knows, right?
And who knows how we're going to interact with future simulations we create? Who knows if the simulation that's living is going to understand that they're being interacted with? We have it's like goes to a point of thought where it's just like it's like thinking about the universe. Like, you can't even wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
Like, the Earth, bro, the Earth is tiny.
Yeah, it's fucking
like, you know what I mean? Like, me and you right in this basement? Like, this is just, think about it. Like, motherfuckers are dying right now. Yeah. Like, someone just got their head chopped off by a katana. Somewhere in the world. Somewhere in the world.
It's true. But one of the things I was going to say is, like, it's got this, people are, like, hesitant to talk about it, you know? Like... And, like, I kind of, like, now that I'm older, I've kind of realized that, like, religion has kind of filled this gap of, like, explaining. Because, like, a long time ago, like, how do you explain this, right? Like, how do you explain
I recently
what the
came
fuck
to that
these
thought
are,
too.
you know? Like, yeah.
Because I always had, like, a thought of religion as, like, oh, it totally controls us. Like, that's all it was.
Yeah.
It was just a puppet master to the puppets we are as population. But then I think about it, it's like, we get to this point where all of a sudden
we can talk and we can communicate.
We have like this consciousness. Like we can think. Like you see a homie get shot down. You see a homie get mauled by a tiger, like in the grasslands of Africa, and you're like, oh shit, I feel bad, bro.
Yeah,
like,
that's
like a new thing. You're like, all of a sudden you have this feeling of like anger.
Yeah,
and it's like, how do we explain these emotions?
Yeah,
and we explain these emotions and these human random things that are happening within this through the commandments, through the deadly sins.
Yeah.
This is how we convey those emotions. It's not all control. There's a lot of valuable information that can be learned from religion within itself.
Yeah.
Don't get manipulated by it, but there's a lot of information there.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think what it became is not what it was created for, right? Like what it became is like human is like the human greed for power and corruption, right? But if you think about back in the days, like we had these people who would like be. This was really interesting. I heard this on another Joe Rogan podcast. You might have heard it before, but basically you had...
Shout out to Joe Rogan.
Shout out to Joe. He's a great guy.
I was thinking, what happened? What would happen if like Joe Rogan died?
Yeah.
Think about that. Like millions of people would be like, bro, I just lost like a homie
friend
that I listened to like for like I've had conversations with this guy for like the past 6 years of my life twice a week for 6 hours.
Yeah. It's true.
Have we ever lost anyone as close?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a different world of celebrity that Joe Rogan lives in. It's not just like some famous actor.
Yeah, no.
He's like, he holds a place in a lot.
Because you know who he is.
He's almost like a priest.
Core,
It's almost like a Catholic priest style.
Okay, this is kind of what I was getting to, is like, you have these like priests that, so you have a church, right?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. You have a church full of people that are like following this thing, right? And then every week they have to go and they have to like, tell their sins, like say their sins through that little hole to the priest, to the guy who's listening on the other side, right? And what does that guy do? He's like, oh shit, like Billy's cheating on his wife, right? And he's like, so what does he do? He like turns to the chapter about like being, and he says it to everyone, right? And he picks out the things that like most calm people, and they're like, oh my god, this is God talking to me, right? And it works so well.
True.
It works so well because like here you have like this positive feedback loop of like you saying what you did bad, and then like the creator of everything is telling you like how
here's the remedy.
Here's the remedy.
I heard you.
Yeah.
I heard you.
Yeah.
You're alive.
You're struggling, but I'm here for you, right?
Yeah, there's something there. You're significant in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the simulation.
Amazing. I think that's great. And that's what religion was like, the founding principles of what it was supposed to do for people, right?
And it's important. And we've recognized how important it is, right?
Yeah.
Now I think we're in some weird world where we almost don't believe religion and almost don't understand the values it brought. Yeah. And now we're in this world looking for shit, looking for God to talk to us in some way. Yeah. Now all of a sudden we're getting trapped in booze. Yeah.
You get Instagram telling you that
strippers,
you need
exactly.
This. Yeah.
The scrolling for likes.
Yep.
But we're talking about the simulation theory, and religion basically allows us to not live in fear.
The simulation or the religion?
No, in religion. Yeah. You don't have to be fearful anymore. You go to church, you go to communion that one day, you put your couple cents in that jar, and then you hear the thing that is going to give you the answer for you cheating on your wife. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like someone's here for me. Yeah. Like, I'm not afraid anymore, bro. Like, there's something.
He's watching over me, yeah.
And then all of a sudden we talk about simulations and talk about how we might not be base reality and this might not mean anything at all ever. Yeah. People get scared.
See, for me, like, I've overcome that. I think, like, I'm happy if it's simulation theory, then that means like the future is gonna be so cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much potential that we just don't even realize, and like that's exciting for me. Even though none of this,
but it could.
I've already come to the grips that like none of anything really like makes sense.
Yeah,
you know, because it doesn't have to. You know,
yeah, it doesn't.
There are some things in your life that have to make sense, but then like that one thing is like. I don't know. I'm content.
We talk about it. You have to own it.
Yeah.
You have to come up with the answers
yourself. This is
the
system. This is where we're living. You just own it.
And you got to figure out who you want to be.
Yeah.
You got to figure out, you got to look at, because I'm not nature versus nurture. I think they both play a part of it. You got to look at how you were raised, and you got to see how you act and understand what might have happened. And you got to own that. And try to change to be a better person.
Yeah.
And you can. But the simulation theory, even if it isn't true, it's still also exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we might come to a world where we have like such abundance.
Yeah. And it might be virtual.
Are you scared of that? Or would you like that?
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into it, and it's like, you know, if you're given like the red or blue pill, would you stay here or would you take the virtual world, right?
I'd stay here.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough choice.
I'd do it.
It's like you don't know what death is. You don't know like what the end is. One thing I have like thought about is like, you know, just like anything, finishing something like feels good, you know?
Yeah.
And like when you're finally done, like you fucking
when you're
clean
finally
your house.
Done life.
You clean your house and it's like spotless.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I finished that. You know? Like that's fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
And life is what might be one of those things that you know, maybe on your deathbed. Like I think on your deathbed, if you're thinking like, wow, this is the end and like that was amazing and like it's over, like that might be reassuring, right?
And I think I would just be so scared to live in an endless reality.
Yeah.
Like that sounds terrifying to me, bro. Like that's way too much commitment. Right. You think I'm committed to that much? I'll take 80 years in this body, bro.
Yeah, but then cool you don't know what's next. There could be nothing.
There could be nothing. That's why. But it's so hard to wrap around the psychological and philosophical like rewiring of the human brain that would have to happen. Like I just can't see it going well. Because we are programmed to die. Yeah. We're programmed to avoid death.
Yeah.
What if all of a sudden we didn't have to avoid death?
Yeah.
What happens, bro? Like, what do we turn? Like, you know what I mean? It's like
that's true.
Who knows, bro? No species, nothing has ever been.
What if what if like you could transcend into like a robot and you're still in this reality, but you don't have to worry about you could live like until something tragic happened.
Until you get hit by an asteroid while you're floating through deep space?
Yeah. Something like that.
Like, who knows, bro?
You know,
like, I don't know, man. It sounds pretty dope, but like, would you be able to like have sex? Like,
yeah, say all this is the same.
So you can like fuck.
Yeah.
Like you got
like
feelings.
You look like you and me. We're just like we're robots.
Like
now.
we're all like motivated by like, you know, all these human things.
And you can turn off the fucking. I don't know if it was that part. Like, you can turn off the shitty parts like jealousy and like, you know,
and just be gods.
Yeah.
Be transcended into like worlds
everyone's
of
perfect.
gods.
You know, everyone's a homie.
But then what happens to this balance that we just said is required if there's no balance?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
If we're God and the ultimate good, there's going to be the ultimate evil right around the corner. That's just what I'm thinking. Like, it's watching. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's going to be something to balance
There's
it
like
out.
two forces, right? In
Yeah.
the universe. Yeah.
Something's going to come and balance it out. So it only makes me fearful.
But if there wasn't, though, if you knew there wasn't, and it's never going to be like that, you know?
I don't know, man. It's impossible for me to even.
Yeah.
It's so hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, but it's a little bit. And this was saying,
like my day is focused on like getting on the bus, like going to school, like calling my mom,
learning some stuff,
and like all of a sudden you're in this robot body with eternity, and you can fly to any soul. Like, what are you gonna do, bro?
Yeah. Just hang out.
I might just fly myself right into the sun and be like, "Yo, I'm overwhelmed." That's it, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
who knows?
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. Like, who knows what happens even after that, right? Like, say you fly in the sun and you become like conscious particles. Just like if you bury yourself in a box and you're consciously sitting in that cold 6 feet under casket.
Would you want to live forever? Does that kind of stuff give you hope for the future?
Not really living forever. I don't know. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. Like whether it gives me hope or not. I guess like it depends what you mean. Like,
well, it's just how does it make you feel? You know what I mean? I think that's
like the possibility of, you know, you might be able to live forever.
Yeah, and like what is that? How do you feel about that? Regardless of what do you think it might actually be, like what is it like a spooky feeling inside? Like does it give you chills?
Another thing that I've like thought about a lot is like we live in a world that's built by everyone. So like as much as you are Evan Stolpmann, everything around you, like this Brita was made by somebody, like this was engineered by somebody, this was mined from the ground. Like we're all just this one like fucking. You
ever see the Simpsons movie?
No.
You've never seen the Simpsons movie?
Maybe a long.
So there's this one scene where Homer's like having like a ayahuasca trip in this like native lady's tent in the north. You know what I mean? Big titty lady, and he's getting his limbs ripped off by these trees that have faces, and they're like they're telling him to learn a lesson because his family left to go save Springfield, and they left him. Is like Homer's like, nah, fuck them, like they kicked us out, like blah blah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's in Alaska, and as Homer's getting his limbs ripped apart, he has this epiphany of, wait, I am nothing without them.
Yeah.
I can't live my life without my family. So I need to go without Springfield. So in order for me to save myself in the spiritual awakening he had on ayahuasca, I need to save them. And it's always stuck with me. So it's kind of funny that you said that.
Yeah. But it's like the world is like the glues and nails between everyone else. You know, it's like you couldn't live in this house if somebody didn't build it, right? So like we're all just part of this huge like connected fucking. It's you're a cog, and like I don't think that's a great way to think about it, but like it's all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, when you say like, does that give you hope for the future to have like this kind of crazy technology that we can't even imagine? It's like if that's going to happen, that's just a part of this world that's just like growing as its own being, right?
The evolution of what is to come.
Yeah.
Like and that's like, inevitable.
Yeah, and maybe we create robots that like like transcend the human experience forever, right? And that's part of like we're in this like cocoon of like growth that's gonna like blossom this butterfly. Should have Joe Rogan, because he definitely said that.
I've said
at
that
some
on
point,
this podcast too. Before. And it's totally true. And it's not. There are people like Elon Musk who are very scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm not. I'm not very scared of that either.
I think it's inevitable.
Me too.
And don't be scared of something that's inevitable, right? Because like you just adapt and overcome.
Yeah, I just
right?
think about how flimsy our motherfucking bodies are. Like my back kind of hurts right now. You know what I mean? Like I could be.
Dude, I have one shoulder that's higher than the other, and like exactly. I don't know what to do about it. Like,
yeah, no, exactly, bro. And this is. I can't fly in space,
right?
But a robot will definitely be able to fly in space,
and it'll be able to shut off for 20,000 years and wake up and be on another planet.
And it'll be able to not be able to masturbate 3 times in one day. You know, what I mean? Like, these robots will be far more superior than I will.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think I'm that scared. I agree with you that it's inevitable. I'm just curious about how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is it going to be virtual reality? Is it just going to be us plugged in, or is it us going to be loading our brains into some other robot?
Yeah.
You know, Neuralink?
Yeah. Neuralink.
By Elon?
Yeah.
He said there's a major announcement coming out in the next few months.
Yeah. Within like the next few years, there's going to be like some kind of interface that would allow you to be faster.
Black Mirror shit, bro, and it scares me.
Yeah, I know.
I was listening to a podcast today, Lex Friedman, a Joe Rogan podcast. Shout out to Joe Rogan. We need to like diversify our references here.
Yeah, we do.
But it is what it is. He's a smart guy, and he diversifies. He diversifies our references.
You don't learn just from Joe. You learn from his.
It's like Wikipedia. Yeah. Everybody's got their own page, and that's their 3 hours conversation. So Lex Friedman, he's like a guy, an AI guy.
Yeah,
and he fuck. What was I just talking about? They were having this conversation of whether it'll be like which way we're gonna be interfacing with this shit,
right?
And it's like, who knows? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Who knows what the next? Think about how fast Google came up.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Google? Google's not an old company.
It's like 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah, just has
biggest corporation ever.
Not right now, no.
Almost.
Apple is right.
Apple, but even Apple's a new one.
Yeah.
But
they're hardware, right? Well, hardware and software, but like software is what's interesting, right?
Well, it depends.
You need the hardware, but
the software is
the thinking.
The software is interesting.
Everyone has a brain, but not everyone can think. You know,
it's just how much are we gonna? Oh, this is what they were talking about. They were talking about, so we're advancing so fast technologically. Mm-hmm. We're going so fast at an incredible pace.
Yeah. There's no...
we can't even keep up.
There's no break.
There's no breaks, bro. That's a full send right there.
You see the jump from the top and you're like, oh, is it going to be
It's a full send, bro. There's no breaks on this. Yeah, you can either jump out now or you're going off the jump. It's up to you, bro. You can bail now if you really want to. I don't suggest it because it'll probably be a pretty view until you hit the ground.
Yeah.
But
I bailed in one aspect of my life. I deleted Instagram. I haven't had Instagram for like a month and a half.
I'm talking about bailing, like you gotta like end your life or something. You know what I mean? Like
no, I know what you're. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But I think like Instagram is like Instagram and social media is this thing that came up so fast, and like we have no idea what the repercussions are.
Maybe you just like lifted one of those sun, when you're driving in the sunblock things. You just made your view a little more clear of the jump. You can see it a little closer now.
Yeah.
It's full screen, bitch.
Yeah.
But they were talking about that. We don't seem to advance as fast when it comes to our wisdom. And technology is moving so much faster than wisdom is moving.
Yeah.
That contrast is scary.
Yeah.
Because they both need to be there. We need the wisdom of Elon Musk to be like, yo, this shit's scary, man.
Yeah.
We need to slow down. We need the wisdom of Sam Harris to be like, yo, slow down. This is not we need to just think through this for a second.
We gotta like put it on paper.
You're way ahead of us right now, and we're trying to catch up, and you need to let us catch up because we are the balance.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's scary. And there's human experience is wisdom. There's something wisdom is like, it has nothing to do with intelligence, has nothing to do with data, has nothing to do with any of that. It's just like inherent almost. Inherent part of the human experience. Yeah. And that needs to be there. Yeah. But maybe that's just us. Maybe that's a part of the transformation.
I think that's a way to think. I think that's like, I think you have a good point. But for me, I'd like working in the tech sector, it's not going to happen. Yeah. Like, you know, I like the company I'm working for now has like collects millions of user records every day just to turn a profit, you know? And if somebody can figure out something that can think in a human way, that can do it faster, better, make more money, like that's all it is, right? It's just this perpetuating cycle of capitalism that just wants to...
Yeah. And that's why...
growth.
That's why we need to have the balance, though. We need to give the population the wisdom. The population right now, there's no wisdom, bro. They're yelling over who can use what bathroom or not. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no wisdom within the population. And now these technological companies have the ability to manipulate and control every single person.
Right. I think it starts with like being able to have wisdom in yourself, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like I love YouTube and I love fucking watching and learning and shit, right? But I know that like it's not probably the most productive thing you could be doing. It's not gonna, you know,
it's not gonna give you experiences.
No.
You're going to be able to relay information, probably.
Yeah.
You may be able to feel something.
You think about some stuff and you gain wisdom and whatnot, but
YouTube won't be able to tell you how to diffuse an argument between you and a landlord. You know what I mean? Like, that's wisdom, being able to be within those situations and come out, understand which avenue is the best avenue to take. Yeah. But it's sad because... we look at the American education system.
It's fucked.
And all of it. It's all fucked, bro. Like, do you know how the American education system works?
Yeah. Do you know that, like, the Koch brothers are trying to... they're trying to, like, not make it regulated. They're trying to deregulate the U.S. so that basically they can make more money.
Oh, of course.
And they're, like, there's even, like, segregated schools. Like, we're going backwards.
It's insane, bro. But how schools are funded in the U.S., it's property taxes.
Really?
So think about that.
You're fucking loaded if you live in a nice neighborhood.
You have a great school if you live in a nice neighborhood. If you live in a middle class, you know, a little lower end, you're going to be stuck in that cycle, bro. Don't think about school giving you that opportunity to grow your knowledge, because it's not going to happen. Yeah. And a lot of these parents grew up in that same... So how do they get the wisdom? Where does that wisdom come from? And now all of a sudden we have this situation in the U.S. And this is owning the game. This is owning reality of this system that capitalized on the ignorance of its population. And all of a sudden, this population still has control of the way things go, but aren't educated enough to understand which way it should go.
And it's showing more than ever right now.
Especially showing more than ever right now.
Yeah.
Through politics, through everything. Yeah. And it's like, that's so dangerous because they haven't had any experience on their own. They don't even understand how Hitler became Hitler. They don't even understand how
what
propaganda
is and what is
exactly
propaganda,
how
like they can't break down what they're looking at and think critically.
Nothing like that exists. Yeah. So that's what's scary to me. And I think I don't want to be pessimistic. Elon Musk said, I'd rather be an optimist and wrong than a pessimistic and right. And I don't want to be optimistic, but I can't help but feel like there's going to be so much suffering, like in this exchange or this like cracking of the cocoon. Yeah, what'll happen is there's going to be a shift of power. You know, a major shift of power. What happens when a shift of power happens? civil war, bro. It's bloodshed.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's crazy.
But I mean,
to
like
think
global
about.
power. I think
China.
Yeah, I think China is definitely gonna.
They already have, bro. What do you think of? What do you think about the whole situation?
So I'll give you the good news and the bad news. So I don't even know if it's good news, but basically, like China, their leaders, even though it's communist and it's like a dictatorship, they're all they care about is making China better, right? Whereas in the States, politics is the coolest guy on the stand, the guy who like you can stand with because he's strong. But what happens is every 4 years that guy fucking gets flipped out, so nothing gets done. At the rate that China is doing, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's almost like the U.S. kind of moves backwards because it's such an archaic system. Yeah. It's like you have 8 years of Democrats, they do a bunch of stuff. You have 8 years of Republicans, they take away everything the Democrats did and then do a bunch of stuff. And then 8 years of another Democrat, they bring back a bunch of stuff and then take away the stuff that
back and forth.
Exactly. And it's like all of a sudden you figure out that you've been in the same spot the past 40 years.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, why is that? There's been no progress.
There's no, yeah. And I think there's been progress, but I agree, like,
there definitely has been progress.
But if you look at like what China's doing, they have like they're growing like 10% year over year, and the U.S. is just going more and more into debt. Yeah. So like, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But this was the first year that China's economy didn't perform well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this year was the first sign of slow growth, and that's possibly due to the tariffs that were placed.
Yeah.
Have you been paying attention to the stock market at all?
Yeah, I know it dropped a lot, like really recently.
Yeah,
but in general, like in the last 2 years, it's been growing. It's been growing ever since
10 years.
Yeah, it's been growing since the Obama administration. Yeah.
But now we're seeing the signs of shakiness in the stock market.
Yeah,
and the shakiness comes from
scary shit.
Comes from tariffs because these big companies like Cat and stuff have their quarterly earnings and they release them, and then all of a sudden on their revenues there's a negative 10% because there's a negative 10% steel tariff on everything they do. They have terrible earnings, and all of a sudden they're not worth the same that they were without that 10%. People start taking money.
Yeah,
and then that's a major corporation, so it brings everything down.
Yeah,
and it gets scary, and there starts to get some mad blood in the streets.
Yeah. That's scary. Is like, stock market crash again,
See, the stock market doesn't really scare me that much.
Yeah, but you haven't lived through a recession.
You're right.
You've lived through a recession as a kid.
Yeah.
In a town where, like, probably didn't get affected as much as other people.
Yeah, well, definitely not as much as...
I was actually looking at the unemployment graph from, like, back from 2003 to, like, now. Yeah. And it, like, dude, when 2008 happened, U.S. unemployment jumped to like 11%.
That's fucked.
You know how many people that is? That's like fucking 33 million people.
That's insane.
That's a lot of people without a job.
Yeah.
It's down at like 3% now, right? Which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's still 9 million people. Yeah. Crazy.
It's a good number though. 3%. That's what they aim for, isn't it?
I don't know what you want. 0%. I mean, obviously, right?
But it doesn't happen like that.
No, yeah. There's always anomalies, but like,
there could be 0%.
Think about like 3 in 100 versus like 1 in 10. Like one of every 10 of your friends loses their job.
Yeah.
And how does that devastates like the economy, right? Your local economy, like
I heard Bill Burr
nobody's gonna go buy TVs. Nobody's gonna shop at.
But there's still people who have those mortgages on those houses that they'll never be able to pay back for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Yeah. Like, just you are in debt, and you are knowingly in debt, and you're going to... Indefinitely in debt, and you are indefinitely going to give that debt to your children.
Yeah.
And whoever supersedes you.
Yeah.
And that's because of some fuck shit.
Yeah.
Some fuck shit that nobody even had to pay for.
No.
Yo, they got a scot-free,
They just fucking... The government just bailed them out.
It's crazy. Did you ever watch Inside Job?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
See, and that's just the stuff that scares me, man. We live in a world where I feel like we're very scared of government, and there's a lot of fear in government. Like, be careful. We don't want communism. We can't have this dictatorship. But I think we need to be equally as scared as corporations as we should the government. Yeah. We can't let these corporations.
But they do right now. They run the governments. The corporations.
That's the thing. But no, who recognizes that? It's
very few people.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a major problem.
Yeah, but that's not something we should have to worry about, which is, like, I shouldn't have to spend my day thinking about how the corporations are run by the government. Like, I just want to come home and go to the gym and chill, But there's all these, like, macrocosm problems that,
And it's not like you should think about them all the time because you're going to turn into the Unabomber. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're going to turn into you can't get lost in that shit because that shit will fuck you up. Go look at all these people using 4chan every night. Like, that shit will fuck up your mental state.
Yeah.
No matter which way you spin it.
Yeah.
But we need to own that.
Yeah.
We need to own that. That's a reality. We need to own that game.
Yeah.
So every time you hear someone uneducated or you feel the need to say something, you need to own that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. And I don't think to live is to suffer. I think more responsibility, the more aware you are, the more burden you have on your life. Mm-hmm. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you have to extreme ownership and you have to own that.
Yeah,
and that's what great people do.
Yeah,
that's what Martin Luther King did.
Yeah,
that's what JFK did. Mm-hmm. They sacrificed their lives for this. They own that, and they pursue that truth, regardless of what the external world wants them to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it goes back to what I was saying is, like, you have the power to influence people around you, right? You can educate people through, and I think this platform is great for that.
100%. And I think it has mass potential.
Yeah.
And that's all. I don't need to teach anybody anything.
Yeah.
But I want to be an example of free expression and believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that's ultimately all I want.
Yeah.
It's like to be that example. I don't need to be some I'm not the smartest dude ever.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not me and it'll never be me. I'm owning that. You know, that's extreme ownership, bro.
Yeah.
I get 98s in neuroscience.
Yeah.
But I can be an example of things that I feel like I am capable of.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
being able to influence people is like what I think if you could like break it down into like simple could be. It's like if you can influence people in a positive way.
Exactly, and that's
like one of the meanings of life.
And it's a key. Yeah. Exactly, that's a key word is in a positive way because you need to.
But it's your positive. So I say that with like. You have to
from your perspective. We're talking very conceptually, and it's. Mm-hmm. It's not
you
like
you have to understand your bias, right? Like I know my bias.
You're talking about
I
a world
right?
where moralities is not a thing. We are living in like this thing where one person believes that, and that is just as powerful as another person believing that.
Yeah.
And I truly think that's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in.
We need
and
to
you have to understand that. Yeah, and that's the key. Is like we live in a bubble right now of like you and I think very similarly, right? But there are many other people that do not think the same way, right?
Yeah, but when I'm talking, I would just like to I guess and maybe I should take more ownership. Maybe I do want to influence people. I want to influence people to make more mistakes and learn about themselves more. I don't. Not everybody needs to influence people. If you want to do that, you can, and people are going to influence people different ways. Some people are going to be preschool teachers or second grade teachers. Some people are going to be piano teachers. Some people are going to be driving a cab.
Yeah.
And if you can be an example of being the best, honest you can be, then that's never a negative, regardless.
Yeah.
Right? There's not even a negative or a positive attached to that.
Yeah.
It's just you owning and fulfilling everything that is within your reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're wrong, even if you're negative, even if you're positive, even if you make
I'm
a
sure
bad...
there's like lots of things that, I'll change my mind about. right?
Exactly.
And
you want to be that example of being like, I made a mistake, and this is me.
I want to be the example of like, yeah, you can change my mind, you know?
Exactly.
Because I want to change yours, and you should be able to change mine.
And like, that's how we move forward.
That's how we grow. That's how we move forward, yeah.
And it's just an interesting thought to have, because we have the ability to. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to, and everybody should feel like we have the ability to, because as soon as you feel like you have confidence in yourself, you start listening to other people more.
Definitely. Yeah, the smartest people are the people who can admit they're wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're aware of that, and then all of a sudden you become a better person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just simply by switching that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, a great example of that is like, Tori can change my mind all the time. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right?
Yeah.
And like, but
brings you back from the dark side, eh?
Yeah, she does.
She throws the lasso over to you. Don't get lost in the drift, bro. Shut up.
Yeah,
it's true though that you need people in those lives, because we're all human.
Yeah,
we're all human.
Yep. We all have our own bias. We all like
exactly. We can't
live our own experience.
Can't fucking joke ourselves that we are not like immune to these things that are so human, like power, and like we're so attracted to it, and we just got to make sure that we keep a level head, and that's all that matters. And there will be times where you go too far overboard. As long as you have the people in your life that can pull you back over, you're fine.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I definitely think I have a stubborn bone in my body where it's like, what I think is right.
Me too.
But
that's also important, bro. You can't fall for all the bullshit you see. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. But like, I think part of me thinks that like my opinion is more valid than other people, right? Which is a flaw in itself.
Yeah. But that's you taking ownership
exactly
of that thought.
Yeah. And
and that within itself counteracts exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that basically disproves. You basically solved it yourself within the one question, or within the one answer.
Right. Yeah.
And that's pretty much how easy it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Being aware.
And just people we're not vulnerable.
Yeah. I find that too. People don't admit they're wrong.
We're not vulnerable, bro. Yeah. Like, you know who's the best person is like Carter Farrow when he walks into the room and he's got a shirt on that says "I still live with my parents."
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like that's the best. Yo, shout out to Carter. That's the best shit, because everybody's like, "Wow, someone's being vulnerable." Like, I feel more open right now to be more vulnerable. That's fun. Now we're all in a space of like love.
Yeah,
like that's it. There's no judgment.
Yeah,
because he just so openly spoke his truth, and I'm just using the fucking shirt as an example. Whatever example, if it's him singing, but that is the example of that's all you should wish to be in life.
Yeah,
that's all you should wish to be in life is. And if you want to walk around like Guy Ritchie with the suit, he's owning it, bro.
Yeah,
and that's him.
Yeah, and you gotta have respect for people like that.
100%.
Because you get this like idea of like what a suit is and like what. And you think of the guy who's like, oh, fuck, I got to go to work and I got to put the suit on. And like, it's not.
Or the cock that's like fucking touching all of his secretaries on the way in, slapping Susie's ass. Like, hashtag me too, bro.
And that's like and that's the outside world saying like, oh, he wears a suit because like, he hates his job. Not necessarily Guy Ritchie, but like,
no, I get
anyone else.
I get what you're saying.
But like, I don't know if you've ever worn a suit. You obviously have.
Yeah.
But like, you put a suit on, you feel like a badass.
I feel good.
Yeah, I feel good.
I'm like, dude, I'm a part of
fresh.
This.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the outside world, man. Maybe that's the outside world being like, oh, I feel like, someone, I'm gonna walk around this corner and someone's gonna look me headed down and be like, yo, he's doing something important right now. I can just tell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't have a Loblaws bag with like a hoodie and sweatpants on.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's the outside world too. And then it just goes to what we were talking about. We got to own that too. That is reality. That is real.
Yeah.
And if that makes you feel good, then own that.
Yeah.
But don't let it consume you.
Yeah. No, and I think like I like both. I like owning when on a Saturday morning when I walk to the grocery store in like sweatpants and a sweater.
Yeah.
And like just knowing that like you're comfortable and that's how you know what I mean? Like,
we're a composition, bro.
Yeah.
I listened to McJenkin's new album and it's called Pieces of a Man, and he just throughout the whole album his message is, I'm not a single moment, I'm a composition.
Yeah.
And that should be because we just don't give each other enough slack, bro. We don't.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's different, man. People can have these moments of shittiness, but that doesn't mean that's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't. We live in a world where people are losing their jobs left, right, and center for like seemingly insensitive stuff, for like this moment that would happen. That doesn't define that person. You know what I mean? It's a moment, and all of a sudden, these moments characterize everything.
Yeah.
But that's not real. That's just the outside world.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up tomorrow morning and think about your socks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The page is going to go on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like people are struggling, dude.
Yeah.
I just feel like people are struggling.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to go out and think that they are not going to struggle anymore if they are outwardly successful.
Yes.
And that's the thing. You need to be inwardly successful
yeah.
before you go outwardly.
It's true.
Because you're going to fill that void with everything you thought you were. And then all of a sudden, it's empty, bruh. And you're like, fuck, dude, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Yo, I went the wrong way down this road. I could have been here, and I could have really enjoyed being here, but I didn't take the right route.
Yeah.
And that's just what I feel like I need to overcome at this point in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm also a go-getter.
Yeah.
Like we all gotta be. We all gotta fight for our own. That's a part of owning it too. It's a hunt, bro.
Yeah.
Yo,
but it doesn't matter what you do. Like people will always say, you know, what you're doing is wrong, or like for example, there were times where people said like, oh, like you're going to school to get a good job and like make a bunch of money, and you just want to flashy blah blah. And I'm like,
and then all of a sudden you start second guessing yourself, and you're like, oh, if that's actually like, is that me?
Yeah,
like is that me? Is what they're saying me?
Yeah. And then I go back and you think about it, right? And you're like, oh, I'm in it for the adventure, you know.
And then
this adventure is the adventure I chose, you know.
And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
You own that.
Yeah.
And you love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you have infinite potential.
Yeah.
Now it's infinite potential.
Yeah, you chose to go on the adventure of like Humber and see what you can learn and what you can get out of it, right?
Exactly.
You know, you're owning it. I see you, like, if you're putting in time. You're like, oh, I can't go out, I gotta study, and like,
of course,
you know, and like I respect the hell out of that, because like I know what it's like. You know,
it's sacrifices.
It is sacrifice, you know, and it is a bit of suffering too.
100%, and we gotta, and that's why we gotta own it, bro. Yeah. It's fun, man.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's fun. You know how many stories come from suffering?
Yeah,
that shit's the best, bro.
Yeah,
those hurting moments, those are always the funniest.
Yeah,
and you learn the most from them.
You do.
And that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that we've stayed up all night, like doing a project or studying, and like you're just grinding, and it's like you do anything for like shut eye, but you're like, nah, we're gonna make this. It's gonna be great.
Hustle.
Yeah, it's the hustle, right? Like
it's whispering in your ear, bro.
Yeah.
But and there needs to be said for hard work and dedication, and you need to have hard work. You can't be lazy.
Yeah. You
can't be lazy, or else we talk about intentions and actions, and I think they're both very equally weighted. Mm-hmm. You need to have good intentions, and that's good for you to talk about stuff and get minds going and talk things into existence, but none of that shit's going to matter if you don't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that's going to matter if there's no action. It doesn't matter at all. You'll be thinking, looking at a wall for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not what we want. Mm-hmm. We want you to be an example so you can inspire me. Mm-hmm. And that's the point, right?
Yeah. And I thought about that, and I think it like rolls back with like discipline, right? Is like, you know, I was like, one thing I realized probably like fairly recently is that like I was probably somewhat still am, is like addicted to food, you know? Like I'm not a binge eater by any means.
I'm a binge eater. I'll eat like an entire box of Oreos.
You have a metabolism like God then.
I guess so, bro. Yeah, one day it's gonna stop, dude.
Yeah, but and I realized that like, you know, this is just something that like I don't think should be me, right? So like I'm taking ownership, you know, and like I'm on a like strict diet and like see progress and like, you know,
and
it's like
not
building, it's like that sacrifice.
Exactly, and it's not even about you. It's just you don't want to have that in your life because it makes you feel like shit.
Yeah.
It makes you feel a negative way, and then all of a sudden we're aware of that, and then that's when the action happens.
Yeah.
No alcoholics are being like, "Oh, this shit's shit for me." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just going ham.
Yeah.
And they're not making those changes.
Yeah.
And food's a big one, bro.
Food's great.
Yeah.
But it's not till you like for me, it's not till like I get on a diet and I'm like, you know, counting calories, and then you like understand like what is different calories. You understand like when you're like craving something and you're like, wow, that's just like a drug, you know? And
it's like wanting to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, it's like wanting to smoke a cigarette.
Having a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah.
And if you're addicted to sugar, bro.
And if it's just sitting there or somebody offers it to you and it's free and you're just like, oh,
fuck
it's so good, right?
Dude.
And it's not till recently that like there's been like candy around or something and I know I can't eat it, and it's just like, wow, like you get that feeling more than ever because it's not just like, oh, I'll just pick it up and eat it, you know?
And then all of a sudden you start wanting to not eat it.
Yeah. And that's like where I'm getting now.
And all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to go in the gym in 30 minutes. And I know if I eat that candy, it's going to make my insulin spike. And I'm going to be dead ass tired in 30 minutes when I should be working out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, it's not like, oh, I want it. And I got to resist. But it's like, no, I really don't want that right now. And that's what it turns into. But it takes practice. It's just like taking extreme ownership. No one wants to have extreme ownership.
Yeah.
But it takes practice to get there.
Yeah. And I think like when you were talking about earlier, like eating something you feel, you know what it does to your body, right? Like, so like we can order whatever food we want at work. And a lot of the shit comes with rice, right? And I've realized that like if I eat a fuck ton of rice for lunch, like I actually sleep in my chair. Like I fucking, my eyes roll back. I'm not focused.
It's called the itis, bro.
Yeah, like it's oh man,
that's itis, dude. Like you fall asleep right after you eat.
Yeah,
that's itis, bro.
What's itis?
That's the definition of that.
Oh, I don't know. I heard of that.
40 told me it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, it's so
it might
weird.
be just a black Twitter thing. I don't know. I think it is. I never heard it before in my life too.
Yeah, but you eat a bunch of rice and like every time. So I can't order rice now because I just know that. When I order rice, like as good as it is, as good as the curry is, and like, oh, so good. But it's like you know what the outcome is. Like you feel it more than ever now.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're not clouded by it.
Yeah,
you're not clouded by like the lust you have for that fucking chicken curry. You're like, holy fuck, that thing is gonna be so good right now. Like it's my taste buds are gonna be. But you're like thinking about like the future, and you're like that. And how do we get out of that cloud? Because I think a lot of people are stuck in that cloud.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that cloud? How do you start like seeing yourself for who you are?
Yeah.
You just
one thing I think that, and this kind of goes back, I think goes a little bit against what we were saying earlier, is that like,
you know what? I like that too because life's a contradiction.
Yeah,
you know what
it is.
Yeah. We're just having, and that's good. That's a good example. I always heard that. I never get it, but life's a fucking contradiction, and you gotta. That's just a part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
And like, and telling people what your intentions are and like what you're going to do. And like, it's not necessarily about them. It's like when you put it out there, like for example, on this podcast, if you said something like, you know, tomorrow I'm going to like quit smoking or I'm going to like stop drinking, you know?
Yeah.
And it's putting that out there and like you're making yourself accountable, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Even if they won't remember, even if like, 30 seconds from now nobody remembers, it's like you remember that you at one point said that, you know?
Exactly. But that thing has got to mean something because if you're just out there willy-nilly saying it all the time, all of a sudden every single time you say that it gets less and less and less valuable.
Yeah. And one example of that is like, you know, I started waking up super early to study when I'm in school, and I'll probably go back and keep doing that, but it's like, you know, I woke up at like 6 a.m. to go to school to study before my classes at 9.
Yeah.
And like that's fucking like dedication, right? But like once you become known as like the guy who says he's like the early study or like that's you taking ownership and like you actually get shit done. You know, like you wake up early, you go do whatever you wanted to do. Yeah, it's powerful shit.
It is powerful shit. Yeah. And even if nobody knows.
Yeah, even if nobody knows.
It's powerful
as fuck. Shit too, yeah.
Because it's life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with anything else but what's inside and what you choose to do.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to take control of our lives.
Yeah.
We can't control if there's an earthquake or if we turn into symbiotic beings with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But we can control not eating a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah.
We can control being friendly to someone on the bus.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we should focus on.
Yeah.
And being the best person we can be.
Yeah.
And doing the best we can.
Yeah.
And working hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy.
Yeah, and also being accountable to yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's me also like reminding myself too.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy, bro.
Be lazy,
like you got to manifest that energy into it. And I'm talking to myself more than I'm talking to anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Like Nike said.
This is fucking Nike. Okay, well here let's wrap this up here.
Yeah.
But it is Halloween.
Yeah.
And
this is the Halloween special.
It is Halloween today. It's so spooky.
Yeah.
Spooky. Wait. But I was gonna say, we're gonna go to our trusted resource, InfoWars, for some Halloween.
Oh, I've heard of them before.
Yeah,
they do some family friendly stuff.
Yeah, they do some stuff like family stuff.
Yeah, family stuff. Yeah, okay.
Roughly, I want to hear some music. Oh, this is the Halloween party music.
What do you think it was?
It sounds like Sean. I thought it was like a ooh.
No, you need like the Monster Mash.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, well, fuck it. That was.
I don't think I've heard any Halloween music. That's like the only Halloween music I think I know.
Scary. Let's see, scary.
Spooky. It's spooky. I love the spooky memes.
What spooky memes?
Like it's just like, oh, a spooky skeleton is like coming to haunt you this Halloween or something stupid.
Wait, what do you mean? I've never seen them.
It's just memes that say spooky in them. Doesn't even matter what it is because it's like so memeable. It's like, ooh, spooky. Oh, this is spooky. Ooh. That was good.
Yo, it's spooky as shit, dude. It's scary, dog. Imagine just walking home one dark night. Also,
I'm kind of spooked right now.
I got a little chills, bro. This is surround sound. Okay, let's get to that. What's spooky meme? I really want to see this.
Yeah, they're just like
this one.
Sure, I don't know.
Which one?
Just any of them.
You're not talking about a specific.
I'm not just any like when it's Halloween. It's just like the spooky memes come out.
Wait, I got a great one. Scream. Did you see this one?
No.
Turn up. This is a great one, dude. No, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Scream Halloween meme. I know. Whatever. Okay, as we were saying, Alex Jones InfoWars.
What
did you to see this, bro?
What the fuck?
This is some of the funniest.
Oh man.
X3 is the.
Oh, that's not what I want.
It's actually on the InfoWars. I think it's just
no. Yeah.
Stay informed in the face of mainstream media censorship. Infowars.com/newsletter.
Shout out.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Oh no. Is this family friendly?
Welcome to Lily Pad Lane, and here's your host, Geronimo Frost.
Look at me, I'm a gay frog. I'm so cool. I'm so neat. I'll never have children and I'm sterilized. But the media says I'm totally cool. I'm a gay frog.
He's really embracing the gay frog.
Totally cool. Geronimo front, totally cool gay frog. Alex Jones comes out in a gay frog. I thought he had blackface too.
Yeah, I know. That actually looks like it. That's not okay.
No, but what a I really appreciate Alex Jones for doing this.
I don't get it. Like,
because
he's this like angry guy.
I know, but remember the meme? Turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah.
And now he's a gay frog, bro.
Yeah, yo.
Thanks to atrazine, there'll be no more frogs. But we're gay, so it's cool. Thanks, atrazine.
Atrazine is a human sterilization agent.
Before we go to our special guest, atrazine, I wanted you to hear from one of our biggest supporters, David Hogg. He understands the bigoted, anti-Semitic, racist hatred of people like Alex Jones that have warned that frogs become sterilized and gay.
This is the future.
Yo, I feel like we're going to be pulled off YouTube to play this.
Oh, David!
Getting, saying Alex Jones, sorry, I don't want to mention his name. When individuals say these things to us, I think it's important for their viewing audience to realize they're simply trying to make money off them. For example, one of the main people in this situation that I don't want to name the name of, but as you said, is from InfoWars. He shouts a lot. I'll just give you that hint. He looks red.
Shut up.
He's advertising many of these things, and the power lies in these advertisers to pull out of these fear-mongering, hate-loving people that just want to spread hate and division in America.
Say shit
For example, on InfoWars, one of the main things that he spoke, one of his famous things is
oh my God.
saying that...
Okay, I can't even watch this.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, yeah. I just thought that was hilarious, and it's really fucking edgy and terrible.
Every time I see, what are they called? This streams in the sky, chemtrails.
Yeah, chemtrails.
I'm always like, guys, that's what makes the frogs gay.
I don't know if they're
like, you see those?
It might be. It might be, bro. Yeah, I always think. That's. I always think of fucking.
That's hilarious.
Chemtrails too. I always think of Shane Bieber. Shout out to Shane Bieber. Connecting conscious.
Yeah, spreading bullshit. I'll say it.
Yeah, I would say go check it out. Don't follow him. Actually, I don't even want to. Yeah, whatever.
You just showed him out.
Yeah, do what you want. He was an asshole back in school, so that's all I want you guys to know. All right, is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to everyone. Thanks for listening. If you made it all the way through, this was
how long do you think it was?
Hour and 40, hour and a half.
Hour 52 minutes.
Oh, sick. Nice.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Nate Linden.
Happy birthday to Nate Linden.
Shout out.
So
listen to this podcast, you asshole.
If he's probably hammered at home right now.
Yeah, he probably is. Jerking off late before night.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, that's it.